Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by today. Most soap designs don't fail because of bad recipes. They fail because of small decisions made at the wrong moment, like how much batter you portion off, how much color you add, when you stop stirring, and when you don't. And the worst part, you usually don't even realize anything went wrong until you cut the loaf and it doesn't look like what you had planned. In this soap, Before the Bloom, I'm going to show you exactly where soap designs quietly fall apart and how a few disciplined decisions are what actually make or break the final result. Most soap designs don't fail because the recipe was wrong. They fail because of small, invisible decisions made during the pour. How much batter you portion off for a layer, how much color you think is just enough, how long you keep swirling instead of stopping. None of those feel like big decisions in the moment, but together they decide whether the soap looks intentional or disappointing when you cut it. This is why soap makers end up frustrated, even when they follow the plan. The bars come out smaller than expected, layers overpower each other, colors bleed, muddy, or disappear completely. And instead of questioning execution, people blame the fragrance, the milk, the colorant, or even the recipe itself. But most of the time, the failure happened quietly during the build. In this soap, I'm going to show you where those hidden decisions live, why restraint matters more than adding more color, why portion control enhances clarity, and how ingredients like milk powder don't ruin a soap, they only expose poor execution. Once you learn to spot those moments, your designs stop falling apart even when you push them. So now that you understand where soap designs actually fail, the next question is how you prevent that from happening without stripping all the creativity out of your process. Because this isn't about playing it safe or making boring soap, it's about making intentional choices that support the designs you already have in mind. And the easiest place to see that in action is the formula itself, how much you allocate, what you restrain, and what you leave alone. So let's move into the formulation of Before the Bloom, and I'll show you how those hidden decisions are built in from the very beginning. Okay, we are ready to go over here at Creation Station. Every design decision in this soap is going to start with structure. This formula is built to support layering, controlled swirls, and a textured top, not to fight them. So that means a balanced oil system that stays fluid long enough to work, but still sets up cleanly. I'm using a combination of hard butters and wax for structure, balanced with conditioning liquid oil so that the batter doesn't thicken too fast. Nothing here is accidental. This blend gives me enough working time to make calm decisions without rushing. Let me get into my colorants really quick before we get going. Very, very little colorants, you guys. That's a good point of this video too. Restraint with your colorants. My main batch is going to be colored with 0.04 grams of yellow oxide mixed with a little bit of glycerin and some of the warmed oils. That's going to be our main batch. I am aiming for a cream-ish color, not a bright yellow. The bottom layer of the soap is going to be colored with 0.1 grams of brown oxide mixed in with a little bit of glycerin and some of the warmed oils from our batch. That's going to be the bottom layer. Our swirl colors consists of ultramarine pink mixed with some raspberry pop mica. So there's 0.45 grams of the ultramarine pink mixed with 0.12 grams of the raspberry pop mica mixed with glycerin and a little bit of the warmed oils. Blue. This is going to be our ultramarine blue, 0.2 grams of that combined with 0.12 grams of blueberry pop mica mixed with some glycerin and some of the warmed oils. Why am I adding glycerin when I'm mixing my colors? Because with oxides in particular, it helps with the clumping issues. So let's just get going. I have all my safety gear on. I'm going to put my goggles on now. I've already taken the temps of both of these. I've already added my coconut milk powder to my warmed oils and I blended that in. That's why it is the color that it is right here. Again, restraint on the coconut milk powder. We're not looking for, a lot of sugar added, but it does help a little bit with the bubble factor and the creaminess. So let's just go ahead and get our lye solution into the pool. It's already cooled and ready to go. Water discipline matters here. Too much water and it's going to blur the color and exaggerates bleed, especially when you're working with milk powders. So I've also included chelation and sodium lactate to support clarity, hardness, and a clean release. Those don't show up visually, but you'll feel them when you cut it. All of this is about structure, and structure buys you time, and time protects your designs. So the combination of all of these things in the lye solution is one of those hidden decisions. Nothing looks different yet, but the outcome already is. All right, let's go ahead and get that lye solution into the pool. All right, we're going to get in here with our stick blender, and I'm going to bring this just to emulsion. I want the batter to stay fluid so that the design stays readable. And this is where a lot of soap makers go too far. If you blend until it looks ready, you've already lost flexibility. Stop earlier than you think. You can always blend more later, but you can't undo thick batter. And I'm just looking to see if we are at emulsion, meaning that I don't see any separation of oils and water. And I'm going to stop right here. Remember, stop before you think that you need to stop. All right, before I add my fragrance to this batch, I'm going to go ahead and remove 3 portions, 1 small amount for the base, for the grounding base, and 2 equal portions for the pink and the blue swirls. Portion control is everything here. Too much colored batter and the base loses your dominance. Too little and the design just completely disappears. The design isn't about how much you add, it's about how much you don't. All right, this is a really, really nice batter now. This is a very, very nice batter. And if your batter races too fast, your design is going to feel forced, and structure, again, is going to buy you the time to protect your design. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to portion off the bottom layer. We're going to put about 4 ounces into the bottom layer. Believe it or not, that's going to be enough. It looks like a little teeny tiny bit amount, and it is. And I'll just go ahead and portion off roughly around 6 ounces for my swirls. I'm going to go ahead and get that yellow into the bottom base. Again, such a tiny little amount. I was looking for a creamish color, not a bright yellow. And when you're working with oxides, in particular, less is definitely more. So you can see that just by adding that little teeny titch of that yellow oxide, I've got a real nice cream color now for my base. It is not yellow. That was very intentional. All right, we're going to go ahead and set that aside. We're going to start working on our other colors. This bottom layer that we're doing is meant to be seen. It's meant to be felt. It's like a quiet little anchor that grounds the bright colors above it. I kept this color to a very, very minimum. I do not fragrance my swirls when I'm doing them. This is going to be just enough of a contrast of that main base to be barely noticeable. Remember, the name of the soap is Before the Bloom. We're not looking for bright colors here. This soap is going to be ready in March. That's why I named it Before the Bloom. This is going to be going out to my saponification station members on Patreon. So you can see it's just like like a tan beige. It's not brown. It was not intended to be brown. And we're just going to go ahead and put that all along the bottom here. The thinnest of layers. We're not even really, to me, I'm not even really calling this a layer per se, because it's just so thin, and that was intentional with the design. Just give that a little bit of a shake around just so that the entire bottom is covered. It's hardly anything. Again, intentional. All right, let's start working on our next color to mix that in. This is our pink, don't forget. Let me get a little whisk. Again, we're not looking for bright colors here at all. This is Before the Bloom. Just enough color to show. All right, we're good there. Let's go ahead and get our blue mixed in. Make sure you scrape the bottom real good. Get all that batter colored up. See how things are not bright. They're not a pastel either. Pastel to me is going to scream baby shower and Easter. That's not what I wanted. I wanted something in between. Let's give our bottom layer a spritz of alcohol. We can set that off to the side momentarily. Bring our main batch back over. All right, I'm going to go ahead and scent this main batch. The fragrance goes in after portioning so that it doesn't accelerate the colored portions. Again, I already added just a little whisper of yellow oxide to the base, not to color it, but to kind of warm the base so that it brightens up everything and doesn't feel cold, okay? So in we go. The fragrance that I am using today is a blend of red clover tea and green clover aloe. 90-10 is the split that I did there. I'm going to blend this in by hand. Once I have that all combined, I'm going to go ahead and do an in the pot swirl and then get that into the mold. All right, that looks pretty good. It's pretty well blended. All right, let's go ahead and get these into the mold. Give it a little bit of a stir, loosen it up again a little bit. We're going to save just a little bit of this for the top. Wherever it wants to go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give it just a couple of passes. Not too many. We don't want to muddy it up. Bring our mold back into view, and we're just going to go ahead and start pouring. Before I finish that top, I am going to go ahead and give it a swirl in the mold, trying very hard not to disturb that bottom layer. If you do, it's really not a big deal. All right, let's go ahead and get the rest of the color out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon and kind of do some texturing. Trying to press down just a little bit into that bottom layer. That looks really good. Now, just going to take the top of my little spatula here. So one of the things I wanted to mention is that if you guys over swirl, that's one of the fastest ways to lose a design. The goal is movement, not blending. When it looks like it could use one more swirl, that's when you stop. So we're all done with everything here. All we have to do now is give it a spritz of alcohol on the top. Let me just clean up this edge just a little bit, and I'll bring you guys in for a close-up. All right, let me give it one more spritz of alcohol here. And this is to prevent soda ash from happening. So let me bring you guys in for a close-up. And the only thing left to do is to go ahead and cover that to force gel. When you do that, forcing gel, it helps to support the color clarity, and it keeps the design crisp too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to cover that over. I'm going to insulate that. We'll let her rest for about 24 hours. I'll bring you guys back, and then we'll unmold and cut it, and we'll see what the rest of the story is then. Okay, it is the next day. I've gone ahead and unmolded our soap. Looks beautiful. Nice shiny top because of that alcohol. I did have some trouble getting out of the mold. It did stick on the sides, and that's because of the mold, not because of the soap. I really don't like using those type of silicone standalone molds. They're very good to hold your soap. They're extremely rigid to hold your soap in the mold when you're pouring the batter. But then once you try to get them out, man, it's a struggle, let me tell you. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and go back to my regular wooden soap log molds with the silicone liners. I have several from many years ago, and I also have several from Nurture Soap. So I'm probably just going to go back to using those and just like portion off part of the mold. I don't make like big, long 18 bar logs anymore because I don't sell products anymore. And if I was to do that, I would just be sitting on that soap for quite a long time, even though more than half of that really is going to go towards my saponification station tier level members. All right, well, we're just going to go ahead and cut this and take a look at the inside. This last bar is always skinny. We're just going to put that off to the side, and I'll save that for myself. So let's take a look at the inside here. So that's what it's looking like. Colors are a little bit muddled, not going to lie. But it smells really nice. It smells really nice. In hindsight, I think I probably should have done like the swirl in the mold itself instead of trying to do an in the pot swirl, because the color didn't really go down all the way to the bottom, and so therefore you're left with, you know, some of the batter up on the top that really didn't get any colors. But you can see just how light these colors are. That part was intentional. I wanted it really, really soft and subtle. You can see the distinction between that bottom layer there. It's just a teeny tiny little amount to kind of represent like the dirt, right? And then some of your flowers are starting to bloom. That's why I called this before the bloom. So if you want darker colors than this, just use more colorant, that's all. And again, I would just do a totally different swirl technique next time. I would do it in the mold rather than in the pot for this particular one, so that, you know, the batter does reach more of the top part. But I love the top. The top looks fantastic. Let's get a couple of these bars here. The top looks really, really nice. Beautiful. And there you go, guys. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this soap, it's that design doesn't fail because of bad ideas. It fails because of small, unexamined decisions. The amount of batter you portion off, the moment you stop blending, the restraint you show with color and additives. Those choices matter more than chasing the perfect recipe ever will. Once you start paying attention to those moments, your soap stops feeling unpredictable and starts looking intentional, even when you push creative boundaries. If this helped you shift how you think about soap design, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss future videos. And if you want deeper breakdowns like this, where we talk about why things work, not just how, you can check out my Patreon for extended content and behind the scenes formulation decisions. Thanks for hanging out with me today at Creation Station, and I'll see you in the next formulation. If you're a YouTube channel member, the written formula and instructions are waiting for you in the description box. If you're not a member, you can also get this formula along with more than 100 others and all future releases by joining my Patreon, or you can pick it up individually in my Etsy shop. All the links are below. Choose what's right for you.